So let's get this straight. AJ Styles flew to the other side of the world to stop LA Knight from getting a World Heavyweight Title match at WrestleMania. If that doesn't get him nominated for the Player Hater of the Year award, I don't know what will. And after being sidelined by the Bloodline and seeing LA Knight take his spotlight, it was time for a change. In this video, we'll explore how and why AJ Styles has become WWE's biggest hater and break down what makes it work so well. So make sure you stick around until the end, and if you enjoyed the video, take a second out to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads. The story starts with AJ Styles locked in a feud with the Bloodline. Things kicked off when he faced Solo Sikoa in a match, where he seemed to have the upper hand, but in typical Bloodline fashion, there were shenanigans. As Styles was setting up the phenomenal forearm, Jimmy interfered, throwing him off the ropes and hiding at ringside like a jackass. Styles ended up eating a Samoan spike, and that was that. His good guy gimmick just wasn't cutting it, and frustration was building. The following week on SmackDown, Styles confronted the OC, who were nowhere to be seen the previous week. Styles was pissed, slapping Carl Anderson's phone out of his hand and telling him to stay away from his match against Jimmy that night. He wanted to face the Bloodline on his own. As the match went on, Styles lost control and started getting his ass beat. Jimmy let his attention slip to Solo, and Styles recovered to take them both out. Eventually, he landed the phenomenal forearm and made the cover for the win, but he couldn't celebrate as Solo rushed into the ring for revenge. Out of nowhere, the Judgment Day interfered, handing Styles to Sikoa on a silver platter for a Samoan spike. The numbers game caught up to him, and he was left staring at the lights again. Now with new enemies, he found himself in a match with Finn Balor, with the Judgment Day stalking him at ringside. After some shenanigans, they were ejected from ringside, allowing Styles to keep the pressure on. But it was a long day at the office, and Jimmy's interference cost him the match. If I were in AJ Styles' shoes, I'd be pissed too. No matter what he did, he was guaranteed an ass kicking every night. With his sights set on the Bloodline, he found an ally in none other than Big Match John. During a heated exchange, Jimmy Uso was laying into Cena on the mic, and as the tension was building, Solo's music hit. Cena, now outnumbered, was handed a one-way ticket to the SmackDown hotel. As the beating continued, Styles took his time, but finally made the save, forcing the Bloodline to retreat. It seemed like things turned around, because Styles agreed to team with Cena against the Bloodline at Fastlane, but that dream was shattered later that night, when he was brutally beaten by Jimmy backstage, with Sikoa flattening him with a Samoan splash. Cena rushed to help but couldn't make it in time. The ass kicking of a lifetime saw AJ sidelined for the next few months, helplessly watching LA Knight take his spot. Adding insult to injury, Cena and Knight beat the Bloodline at Fastlane. If that didn't piss him off enough, then this is the icing on the cake. LA Knight headlined Crown Jewel against Roman Reigns for the Undisputed title. It was everything AJ needed to flick the switch to full-on hater mode. During his time off, Styles kept himself busy in the gym and went back to the drawing board, determined to come back different. Later in the year, the Bloodline was kicking the crap out of Randy Orton and LA Knight. All of a sudden, AJ Styles' music hit, but he was nowhere to be seen at first. Then he appeared, delivering a phenomenal forearm to the Tribal Chief and clearing the ring of the Bloodline. He looked different, wearing all black and looking like an emo. When he took his shirt off, it was clear he was built like a brick shithouse. Styles worked twice as hard on his road to recovery, because this time it was personal. Those muscles were built with rage, fueled by Biggie Smalls' Player Hater on repeat, and one man's picture on the wall, LA Knight. As the faces watched Reigns at ringside, Styles ambushed Knight with the stiffest clothesline of all time, leaving everyone confused out of their minds. Over the next few weeks, Styles found himself in a love triangle with Randy Orton and LA Knight for a shot at Roman Reigns' title at Royal Rumble. The New Year's edition of SmackDown saw a triple threat match to determine the #1 contender, but as always with the Bloodline, shenanigans were inevitable. Roman Reigns made his timely entrance with all three men down on the canvas. He stomped a mud hole in Styles while the Bloodline took out Orton and Knight at ringside. A defenseless Styles was perched up high, an heir to powerbomb. The Bloodline thought they handled business, but Nick Aldis had other plans, announcing that Roman Reigns' title would be on the line in a fatal four-way match at the Royal Rumble. As the weeks rolled on, history was repeating itself. Every time Styles was in the building, it was on site, and he was left looking at the lights. The night before the Royal Rumble, he was pissed, attacking Orton after an exchange in the ring, but he wasn't done, ambushing LA Knight during his match against Solo with a phenomenal forearm at ringside. He was handed a steel chair by the Bloodline, which was used to beat them like a piñata, but eventually Randy Orton came out to lay the smack down, taking out Styles with an RKO. At the Royal Rumble, Solo interfered, attempting to send Styles through the barricade, but AJ dodged, sending Solo crashing through instead. Reigns was caught off guard, allowing Styles to hit a phenomenal forearm and make the cover, but all three opponents kicked out. Styles became pissed, grabbed a steel chair and started swinging for the fences on Reigns and Knight. After months of taking beatings, Styles dished out his own punishment. He turned his attention to Orton, who countered and cleared Styles from the ring. Roman then took out Orton and finally speared Styles to retain the title. During the build to the Royal Rumble, tensions between AJ Styles and LA Knight were high. This all came to a head on the following SmackDown during an Elimination Chamber qualifying match. Styles faced Drew McIntyre with LA Knight on commentary. When AJ was thrown over the announce table, Knight saw an opportunity to mock him by pouring water all over him. Styles retaliated by slapping the water out of his hand and squared up to him, giving McIntyre a chance to attack from behind, and he dragged Styles back into the ring, but Knight interfered, causing a distraction. Styles rolled up McIntyre for what could have been a winning pin, but the referee missed it due to Knight's shenanigans. After breaking the pinfall, AJ sent Knight packing, but the distraction allowed McIntyre to hit a Claymore for the win. It was another big blow, and he continued to take L's. After LA Knight secured his spot in the Elimination Chamber match, AJ went through a midlife crisis. On the next SmackDown, he was seen backstage and got called out by the OC for ghosting them on the group chat. Carl Anderson confronted him, accusing AJ of forgetting where he came from. Styles snapped. He slapped the taste out of his mouth, showing just how far he had distanced himself from his old friends and how deep his hatred for LA Knight had grown. After months of frustration and feeling like LA Knight had stolen his spotlight, everything came to a head at the Elimination Chamber. Styles could have taken a vacation, but nope. Instead, he flew to Perth, arriving just in time to make the biggest player hater move of the century. When LA Knight hit the BFT on McIntyre and went for the cover, Styles appeared out of nowhere with a steel chair. He lost it, swinging for the fences and bending the chair around his back. He didn't just stop there, he beat the soul out of him. Styles followed up with a Styles Clash, ensuring LA Knight was eliminated. This brutal beating not only cost Knight his title match at WrestleMania, but it cemented Styles' legacy as the biggest player hater in the history of the WWE. Styles flew halfway across the planet to beat the living dog shit out of LA Knight because he couldn't stand his success. Someone give this man the Player Hater of the Year award already. You'd think Styles was done, but far from it. He became a little gremlin, hiding backstage, cutting promos and hating on LA Knight's success, saying he'd overachieved and was under-talented. He was pissed that someone like LA Knight had taken his spotlight while he was out. Styles put Knight on notice, telling him he needed to be humbled and he was the phenomenal choice for the job. Knight had seen enough and recreated the scene from the Elimination Chamber, but this time the victim was a poor old TV, which he pummeled with a steel chair. He told Styles to grow a set and turn up to the show. Ever since Styles cost Knight at the Elimination Chamber, he'd been hiding, but kept landing haymakers in video packages like a keyboard warrior in his mother's basement. Knight was out for blood and ripped him a new one.
Little boring piece of trash. You got your little soccer mom haircut. What'd you pick your kids up today?
The next few weeks saw a manhunt underway to find AJ Styles, but he was nowhere to be found. Knight cut a promo trying to bring him out of the shadows, but instead, Styles came in from behind with the longest run-up in history, loading up a steel chair and smashing it across his back.
I broke my back. Spinal.
AJ put the chair around his neck, took a seat and accepted a challenge for a match at WrestleMania. The tension reached an all-time high when LA Knight sought revenge. Taking a page out of Triple H's book, it was time for a home invasion. Knight showed up at AJ's house, attacking him on the driveway, which led to Knight spending the night behind bars. The following week, Styles started a manhunt for LA Knight, but couldn't find him anywhere. Suddenly Knight appeared, posing as a security guard and beating the living daylights out of Styles. The stage was set for WrestleMania. Despite his best efforts, Styles got his player-hating ass handed to him on a plate, with LA Knight picking up the win. But that wasn't the end of the story. They found themselves in a WrestleMania rematch for the opportunity to take on Cody Rhodes for the Undisputed Title at BackLash. Styles finally got what he wanted, beating LA Knight, and once again the spotlight shifted in his favor as he had a title opportunity. This allowed him to put Knight in his rear view and face Cody, with both superstars putting on a clinic, but Styles couldn't get the job done. Despite losing, it was a small win because Big Dave finally gave him his first 5-star match rating during his time in WWE. He stepped up his game since turning heel, and it's brought the best out of him. It's been perfect for giving his career the boost it needs as it slowly comes to an end. AJ Styles' transformation into WWE's biggest hater has been top tier. From being sidelined by the Bloodline to seeing LA Knight steal his spotlight, Styles had every reason to be pissed off. He turned his frustration into a full-blown mental breakdown and went after Knight full steam ahead. From flying across the world to kick his ass, to cutting heated promos, he's shown a darker, more intense side. This heel turn has given his career the boost it needs. In the end, Styles' evolution into the biggest hater has added layers to his character, making him must-see. His journey from a frustrated face to a ruthless heel demonstrates the power of storytelling in wrestling, and it's been phenomenal. Thanks for sticking around until the end. If you enjoyed the video, don't be a player hater and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future uploads right here on Wrestling Real.